Hello and welcome to the best video on the internet. Today I'll be trying to crack the biggest riddle of all riddles to ever be riddled. How old is Arkham Batman in each of the games? Before we start, I think it is important to note that we're using February 19th as Batman's official date of birth, because that's the official date provided by DC Comics and Warner Brothers. So when we know, for example, that Arkham Knight takes place on Halloween, we know that Batman's birthday is a few months later, on the 19th of February. February 19th, 1968 is the day that I believe the Batman is born in this universe. 1968, though, is a completely preliminary and irrelevant year. It could well say 1942, and the video would still make just as much sense. Because this video is about how old Batman is in each game, not what year he was born and what year each game is set. I'll say it one more time for the people in the back. All years in the video are examples. Just because I say something takes place in the year 2000 or the year 2002 doesn't mean it actually does. Again, this video is about Batman's age and how old I believe he is in each of the games. I believe that Bruce Wayne witnessed his parents' murder at either age 8 or age 10. The reason that there's 2 ages and 2 years on screen is because I can't find a consistent answer. Some sources say 8, some sources say 10. But in regard to our whole scheme of timelining, both ages work just as well. Using the same logic, I believe all of the Arkham Shadow flashbacks take place in between the late 1970s and late 1990s, depending on which flashback we're talking about. And again, both years are completely irrelevant to the rest of our timeline. Based on my own calculations and logic, I think that Batman finishes his training around the world at about age 31, ready to start his war on crime in Gotham around age 31 also. By my own calculations and logic, I believe that Batman begins his first year at the beginning of the year 2000 and finishes his first year at the end of the year 2000. By my own determination, I place Batman at 33 years old during the events of Arkham Origins, soon to be 34 in the coming February, but based on what we've worked out so far, Christmas 2001 is when I believe this game takes place in the Arkham canon. And as we know that Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate takes place in March, 3 months after Batman Arkham Origins, we can assume that Batman's had his birthday in February and is now 34. I also believe this is when he tells Leslie Tompkins about his identity, because in Batman Arkham Origins, Alfred says that they are the only 2 people to know, himself and Bruce Wayne. And by Batman Arkham Shadow, she's aware of who he is. Carrying over the same logic, if this game takes place in the summer after Arkham Origins, specifically around July, we know that Batman will still be the same age at 34. 34 again now. At the end of this game, he recruits Robin, Dick Grayson, and we also know that Batman Arkham Origins multiplayer takes place shortly after Batman Arkham Shadow, where he'll still be 34 years old. Thinking back to Batman Arkham Origins, we know that game takes place now on Christmas Eve 2001. We also know that in Arkham Knight, a firefighter mentions how Firefly hadn't been active in Gotham for 10 years, meaning that we can place Batman Arkham Knight 10 years after Batman Arkham Origins on Halloween. Because of the aforementioned firefighter dialogue, we can place Batman Arkham Knight 10 years after Batman Arkham Origins. If we've placed Batman at 33 in Batman Arkham Origins, we know that adding 10 years onto that will give us the age of 43 in Batman Arkham Knight. Knowing that Batman Arkham Origins takes place 2 years into his career as Batman means that by the end of Arkham Knight, he would have been Batman for 12 years. Okay, working backwards, if we know that Batman Arkham Knight takes place 9 months after Batman Arkham City, that means that Batman is either going to be 42 or 43, depending on when the game actually takes place, whether it's in January, February 19th, or just after. Okay, forwards again now. Batman Arkham VR is a dream that takes place in between Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Knight, and I'm going to be really silly and assume that he's going to be the same age as he is in Arkham Knight, 43. Okay, now let's fill the gap between Batman Arkham Shadow and Batman Arkham Asylum. Again, we have conflicting sources on whether this game takes place 6 months before Arkham City, a year before, or a year and a half ago. I've gone with saying it's 6 months and it takes place in summer of 2010, meaning that Batman is 42 years old in Batman Arkham Asylum. Again, between both games, we know that Dick Grayson goes from being Robin to being Nightwing. We know that Batman recruits a new Robin in Jason Todd until he eventually passes away. And we also know that he recruits Tim Drake. But this is before Batgirl becomes Oracle. Also in this 8-year gap, we know that Batgirl becomes public, works alongside Batman and Robin, and unfortunately is paralysed by the Joker. And finally, by my calculations and by my logic, I've decided that I believe Batman is 48 when Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League takes place, which in my logic is in the year 2016, meaning he's been Batman for 17 years by the time this game takes place. Before the video ends, everyone, I really want to thank you all for sitting through the video. I used iMovie, Canva and PowerPoint to make this, so I know it's not brilliant quality. I don't even have a microphone anymore. I just was sat thinking about this one day and I thought, maybe I'll make a video on it to share my thoughts. Again, thank you for sticking through. I'm sorry for the awful quality and I really appreciate you watching.